Hello, hello, hello. It's Friday, baby. My name is Lady T, and I'm the host for today. I'm here with co-host, Mr. Know-It-All. How are you, Mr. Know-It-All?
Lady T, how are you today?
Good.
It's Friday, baby, and I am happy to be here.
Me too. What's going on today?
Well, I think that today we're going to try something a little bit different.
Okay.
And, we're going to kind of, instead of just talking about general current events, I want to kind of focus on some interesting sectors that I believe are really important for not only the new year, but in general for the whole country. What do you think of that?
Let's do it then.
So one of my things, and I know this is something that's a favorite of yours as well, is education.
Yes.
Education is always changing. And, what's really interesting is that because a lot of different things have been happening in the space in general.
Yeah, it's been going on.
Yeah, it's been going on.
I've been hearing on the news and so forth.
And obviously, you know that there's so much information in regards to student loans and student loan forgiveness and companies requiring different requirements for college degrees, or maybe not so much a college degree, but a specialty or certificates and specialties. So I wanted to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, get your opinion on where you see it going, and get your thoughts on where do you see we as a country, how this can help or hinder.
Well, I'm not an expert on this, but I do have experience as far as with the college loans and that type of things. And I know it began last August when President Biden announced a plan for student forgiveness, and everybody was happy, but it was questionable about how much at first. I remembered that.
Right, and matter of fact, he ran on that. That really got people motivated, especially the younger people motivated to go out and vote, because they're like, well, if they're going to really attack this student loan forgiveness idea, this is something that we want to kind of get behind.
And the young people actually did go out
They showed up
because of that, because it's important to them. And when he finally announced it, they came out with amounts of $10,000 and then $20,000 forgiveness. And unfortunately, you and I both know some student loans are way above that amount. But at the end of the day, if it was a drop in the bucket, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
They were okay. Well, not really okay, but they were glad that something at least was offered in the amounts of $10,000 for some and $20,000. And these are for the federal loans.
Right.
So everybody was anticipating that it was going to begin, and everybody's getting back, because everyone initially, they do want to pay back their loans. But it becomes the interest and everything becomes so much that it's too much for a young person starting out to try to put into their budget. So this was something that was looked upon as, yes, let's do it. But then something happens.
Well, what's interesting about student loans and student debt is that because, and going back and doing a little history, our generation really pushed the next generation to really go to college and to get university degrees, because it would help them get into the middle class and also give them a sustainable career. And because of that, just push to get people into university and to get people into colleges, they inflated the cost of college and going to university incredibly so. Something in the range of 142, 143%
right.
Tuition just went crazy, because all of a sudden you had all these people who were pushed into going into university training.
It became big business to get the students into the schools, and then the tuition increased every semester, if not, well, every year, definitely, but sometimes every semester.
Right.
And it was too much. It continually grew for decades now. And of course, the students began to need the assistance of a student loan. A federal student loan, I know there was, when I was going to school, it was Tap and Pell, because I'm one of the people that actually would have had to utilize a student loan. So it was something where we needed in order to get the education that we desired.
Right. And I remember going to school, and they had the Guaranteed Student Loan Program. That's what it was called way back, like in the 80s. We're showing our age. But the thing about the Guaranteed Student Loan program. Now, here's the interesting thing. I remember being in school and I came up short, and my counselor said, "Well, you're going to need to get a loan." And they said, "It's called a guaranteed student loan program. You go down to your local bank and you tell them you need the loan, and they will give you the loan." And I remember I needed something like $1,000, right?
Wow.
Well, when you're in college and you have no money, it's $1,000 seems like a lot.
Multiply that by 50,000.
Correct. And that was going to pay for or 12 classes and 12 credits, right? And all I was short was $1,000. Amazing that you could pay to go to college at that time. Again, this was in the
Ancient.
80s, right? In the 80s. So now jump this by 40 some odd years. Now even a CUNY or city university or a state university, SUNY, average tuition jumped from, say, about $8 or maybe $3,000 or $4,000 a semester to something like $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 a semester. So now when the kid goes down to get a guaranteed student loan, they don't even call it that anymore. It's now subsidized by a gigantic bank, one of these big conglomerates, one of the top banks. And this person is signing on for the rest of their life with compounded interest that changes and flips. And next thing you know, average student loan debt is between $80,000 and $140,000 that the person is carrying.
And that you're saying that's for a CUNY or a SUNY. Imagine
for a CUNY or a
for
SUNY.
the private universities, the private colleges, their tuitions are a little bit different. They're
Much more aggressive. Yes.
For instance, I remember it being a thing where if you lived in, let's take, for example, New York, and you wanted to go to a college out of state, to New Jersey or to someplace else.
Any other
state.
From where you're from.
If you're not a resident of the other state, your tuition is increased because you're not a resident of that school. And it's simply if you just wanted to go to the university of the state, like the state university. It's not a specialty school, possibly. It really just would be a higher tuition because you did not live in that state.
Yeah.
So all of that added together comes up with the amounts that all of the young people owe on their student loans and young adults as well. I mean, people have student loans and they've been paying for a long time.
Right, and the interest has just been going crazy.
Right.
So it became almost like a rigged system. So something has to be addressed because people are drowning. And, these are people, from all generations, from the baby boomers to generation, from the millennials to Generation X to Generation Z. They're all affected by this. So you're looking at a wide range of people being affected. So something has to be addressed. Something has to be done. And to Biden's credit, he addressed this and got it started. Now, we all know at this point right now, the Supreme Court is going to be listening to arguments as if to see the legality if student loan forgiveness can be done by the president, which he's trying to do, to $10,000 and $20,000.
Because they have naysayers.
Right. There's matter of fact, and I'm going to say their names.
I don't know, so do tell.
Right. Home Depot is sponsoring opposition to this loan forgiveness program because some people are taking offense because some people have paid some loans.
So by sponsoring, you're saying that they're actually
bankrolling the legal arguments and the legal cases for people who are opposing this because some people are not qualified for the loan forgiveness program for various reasons, and they're being knocked out of the $20,000 and or the $10,000, and they feel like it's not fair that they don't get a chance to be have their loans forgiven, even though this person that's actually bringing the case had a PPP loan forgiven in the amount of $40,000 to $60,000. So they had no problem with loan forgiveness for PPP loans, but they have a problem with student loan forgiveness. I don't know how they
basically you're saying
put this together.
They are opposing the $10,000 to $20,000 relief.
Yes.
For students. I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be a company for the community. I know as anyone who's looking for things for their home, Home Depot's the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah,
But you
that's where you
don't
go.
expect them to be against you. Now, I don't know this for sure, but if that is the case, it's really absurd, honestly.
Right,
I
because
really,
first time home buyers who make it into the middle class and buy their first home because of that college degree and
they're in there
working,
shopping.
they're in there shopping, and
Right.
meanwhile they're holding all this debt, but they have to furnish their house, fix up their house, and they go to Home Depot and they actually pick them, they choose them to be their provider, and Home Depot is actually on the back end fighting against them on while they're spending their hard earned money in their store. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
that's
really not
tough
in the
pill to
best
swallow.
interest of I think it wouldn't be in the best interest of Home Depot to do that. But I guess they believe that politically it's the best place for them to be against their own customers. So shame
Wow.
on them. Shame on them.
Yeah.
So interesting thing. What's happening as well because of the pandemic, right? We always talk about that. There's a shortage of labor because there's just so many people that are actually, God bless them, they're employed. That now a number of employers are actually dropping the requirement for a college degree.
Wow.
And these are major people like Google and Apple and a lot of these specifically people in tech. They're having a challenge finding people who are skilled in these particular having chronic talent shortages for specific skill set. So what they're looking at more is a skill-based, employing skill-based labor force that if they get certificates in cybersecurity, IT, different CRM platforms, that they will actually support and hire these individuals without a college degree. But if they take the training, they would hire them. What do you think of that?
Well, it sounds to me like it goes back to the same issue.
Yeah.
And this is because of the skyrocketing tuition and the student loans. And they're saying, okay, more students coming out of high schools and thinking about even going into college are saying, is it really worth getting a degree at this point? Because they really want the degree possibly for a specialization, but do they want the student loans? I know that if you're a doctor or you're a lawyer, that kind of thing, you definitely need a degree.
Yes.
Me personally, I'm a college person that thinks that a college is a great experience to have, and you do need to have some background in it, but if it's something where you go, am I going to weigh this? Do I get into an organization, a top organization such as Google, who's going to accept you without that degree, and you can maneuver? The talent always will rise regardless.
That is a very good statement.
So when you're in there, and sometimes there are people that do not require degrees because their specialty may be something that does not need a 4-year college degree or a master's and that thing. Kind of thing. But I do believe, for me, that colleges are important, but they have to really, going back to the other subject, they have to get the loans back in order. They have to get the tuition and everything back down to earth.
Yeah, I agree with that. So this reverses the so-called degree inflation, a trend that picked up after steam during the Great Recession, where many employers began adding degree requirements to job descriptions that hadn't been previously there. And this really helped kind of push tuition really high. So that really made people have to go to school just to get the most basic job. But now that they're really going to focus on, skill set and certificate set type requirements for jobs, this should reverse that. So now in general, I believe a college degree is something that's going to make a better nation, a better society, because you get people who are going to be educated on all well-rounded individuals, and actually I think it'll make a greater society. However, this inflation,
and as the United States, we have to compete.
We have to compete.
So if we have a nation, a bit, the United States, it's not full of more college educated people, the issue becomes, are we going to be behind? And that's not acceptable. You know what I mean? I think that the truth about it is, if this college degree thing is real, the Googles are saying, that Teslas and the other big company, the tech companies,
Apple, Google, all the big top shelf companies.
Are they really going to accept a hiree without a degree compared to someone? Because as we all know, there will be people who will have their degrees.
Right.
This does not affect everyone. There are some people that are more fortunate or rich and they go to college. So those people are still going to be in the market, and they are going to be the competition against the person who comes in because they don't have a degree, but the rules have been changed so that they are. The difference is that we all have to be on the same levels. And I think that I want to keep it that way. I don't want to have a situation where, okay, the level has changed, and don't lower the bar. Just increase the education for everybody. That's how I feel about it. I don't think that it's fair that you're saying, oh, we don't need the college degrees anymore. But I think you do. I still think you need to be college educated if you're able to, if it's something that you want to do.
Right, yeah, and I tend to agree with you. I think as a whole, the society, we are better people when we have more well-rounded individuals. This, again, is going to be addressing skill set, specifically in the tech sector. And so what's going on in the tech sector is that you can gain this skill set from many different avenues, but you still have to be trained. But as a society, I think as a society, we need well-rounded individuals that understanding reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? And also philosophy and music and culture, because it makes it a rich society. We don't want to be, a society that lacks in culture. We don't want to be a society that lacks in understanding, reading, text that have really gives more enjoyment to the overall culture. So that would be really sad to see if that just transpires and people don't understand anything about philosophy or anything about, higher end mathematics, calculus, and geometry and things of that nature. So, because what's going to happen to the culture where, okay, you may know how to code something, but you know nothing about Shakespeare. You know nothing about Charlie Parker and John Coltrane and Nina Simone. Right. You know nothing about any of these cultural icons. But, you can actually design, a platform on Google.
Well, that's a sign of the times. I mean, times have changed and updated.
Yeah, lowest common denominator in culture nowadays, right?
What is?
Just the general, everything's kind of on the lowest bar of taste, and it's the lowest bar of viewpoint, point of view. I kind of
disagree with that. I think that if you seek, you will find. If you seek, you will find the art. You will find the music.
Good.
It's in you. That's in you. But you say something interesting about the tech sector. Now, there are schools that specialize in technical training. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, I know that those schools were the more expensive. They're maybe not more expensive, but the loan situation. Those are the type of schools that if you go for that specialization in technical training, those loans would never get forgiven because they're not federal loans. Is that accurate?
No. Well,
okay.
Well, the thing is that the tech side has really changed in regards to innovation and where the actual training comes from. So now, and matter of fact, Google actually offers a number of...
It sounds like we're doing a Google commercial.
Yeah, I know, but they offer a number of certificates for people to get trained, and they can as low as $39 in some cases.
Wow.
So they're beating a lot of the institutions, because the thing is, on the internet, you can go and actually learn all of the tricks of the trade on different specific platforms and languages. And if you specifically sit down and learn language, and you learn coding, and you learn cybersecurity, you can learn these things on your own, and you just have to know where to look. What? And a lot of these schools, they don't have they don't have the specialization, because this stuff changes so quickly.
But what could you learn for $39? I mean, I'm curious about that.
Well,
what exactly would that be?
You could learn.
How long is that? A 1-day class? Is that a session? What is that? And how much can you absorb?
Well, what's the biggest thing is cloud computing nowadays. You can learn how to put together a cloud computing network which is, really massive. And today everything is cloud, right? Even how we're doing this podcast today. We're going to take this and we're going to upload this to a cloud. Well, that's basically a language, and also it's a platform that can be learned. Some of it's what they call point and click, and just, you don't even have to code it, but you just have to learn the software. So the software is available, and if you get your hands on the software, you can learn it.
And that's changing every day.
It's changing and changed so quickly that a university, so NYU has to go, okay, this is they're going to come up with a curriculum. That'll take them 3 to 6 months to design a curriculum. Meanwhile, some person has coded something brand new in a new language, and then that's available. You can only learn it from that person.
Because they have hands-on experience.
Because they got hands-on experience.
Hands-on experience.
Or they live in that world where the people are constantly upgrading and taking it and manipulating the code. There's something called open source, right? Open source is like that's been around for a long time,
right,
where someone comes up with a code and everyone who's part of that community can actually build upon that source of that code, and they basically take the code and they expand it and it changes. It's like kind of a living, breathing organism. So, there's a community of people that do this. Now, I'm not a coder and I'm not a programmer, but I know that these organizations exist where people kind of come together in a community and they learn from each other, and it just expands upon that. And keep in mind, all the big companies that we love, or that part of our lives, like Microsoft and Apple, none of these people actually ever graduated college. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Michael Dell. They went to these prestigious universities, but they didn't graduate from them.
But when you say that, because I know everyone thinks they could be Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And that's not possible.
Right.
He's one of a kind.
Right.
And to put that out there, to say, like, I know that if you have young adults going to school and they go, I don't need to go to school because I'm going to be Bill Gates. But that's not, everyone can't be Bill Gates. So that's the reality of it. So even though he didn't go to school, that was what he didn't have to do. It's like when you bring it to the music segment, everyone has a specialty in what they do. And what you described almost with the tech part is if, you rent a drum beat and everyone builds their own music off of that one drum beat, right? So now that's the same thing in the technical world. But as far as being Bill Gates or the Facebook guy, Mark Zuckerberg, everyone wants to do that. It's a 1 in a million. It's like winning lotto. And yeah, everyone saw the Facebook movie, right? He started out at college, but he never finished because his idea and who he was took him to the next level without college degree. But not everyone can do that.
Correct. That is true. Plus, the people came up in different communities where, like, actually Bill Gates came up in a community that just so happened to be so many coders lived in that particular, computer programmers at that time lived in his community. In his high school, they got one of the first computers ever in the country in his high school. So it just was timing.
Right.
And like you said, it's one of a kind that this will happen. Like lightning is not going to strike in the same place twice.
And even though he may have been the one that we know of, he may not have been the best one.
Right.
He may be just the one that rose to the top because of his timing. But there may have been someone that he learned from,
right,
which in most cases is always the case.
Correct.
And he's the one that got the glory for it. So we don't know. So I can't say that everyone's going to not necessarily need to go to college, because I think that people, if they're able to, they should.
Correct.
Because you have to compete in this world. You really do. And the more you have under your belt, the better. So
I think we agree more than we disagree on this. And
okay.
I think we definitely agree that we like the idea of the higher education, because I think what makes the person more well-rounded, as well as it builds our society to be a greater society. And at the end of the day, I think as a country, that's where we want to be. And you like that idea too?
I do. I think a higher education, but at a reasonable cost.
You
shouldn't have a noose around your neck, no pun, but forever. It shouldn't be there. You shouldn't have to, and the interest shouldn't be more than the loan. Because ultimately, when you're paying, and you're just paying the interest, you're not ever touching the loan. That can go on perpetually. So
Yeah.
no, we have to get a system in place where our youth believe that they can get into the schools and pay off the loans if they need them, and let it be fair. Right now, it's
Or
not fair.
make it like high school, where
It's free.
where it's free, where because it's only making the culture better. You're going to get better, well-rounded people. It's going to benefit the country.
Start the community colleges
Right.
for free.
Right. Or the state colleges.
No,
yeah.
really. I mean, that's a
Right there.
thought. When you come out of high school, and this is a thought I think that, I forgot what state was thinking about it, offer the free community college at least for 2 years, because think about it. The first 2 years of anyone's college education, they're not really
sure.
certain or
Right.
sure of what they want to do for a living, or
career,
they may
yeah.
start out with an idea, but then they may get into it and go, you know what, I don't think I like this, but they in now 2 years, and they're paying a student loan for that.
Right.
So the first 2 years at least should be free. And I forgot what, there is a state that's doing that, where
New York State is
is
doing
in New
that.
York,
Yeah,
you
New
go
York.
in for 2 years, and that's it. You can find out, I think it's an associate's at 2 years, right?
Right. I actually think the New York program is at the state university level, and they look for high school students that have a high GPA. They have a minimum GPA requirement, and this gets them in there, and they have to maintain a good GPA during their career, their 4-year degree career, to make sure that they stay within that program. But I think it's a great idea because, it's only going to make the state a better place, and you're just going to have more educated people, which is going to help the society.
Right, and I think the higher GPA requirement is because it really will show the students' interest of being in school. Because there are people or young students that decide, well, I'm not ready to run right into another sort of education situation. I
Right.
just want to explore. I want to take a year off, maybe.
Right.
I want to go work, or maybe some students have to work depending on their financial situation, so they're not able to immediately go into a college or a university. So when the schools are asking for a higher GPA, these are the students that are really interested and focused and determined to complete their degrees, I believe.
Right.
That's my thought. I'm not an expert. Again, I don't know for sure, but that's just my thought on it.
So a lot of this still remains to be seen. On February 28th, the Supreme Court is going to hear the case if Joe Biden, or the President Joe Biden, will be able to implement his student loan forgiveness program, which it's not exact amount they want, but people are wholeheartedly behind it because at least gives people a start. Now, the thing is, if the Supreme Court decides to go against it, and being that it's a very conservative court, that may more than likely than not will happen. And but he's now released a new program, which basically is going to be a repayment program. Actually, it's called Repay. And that will help as well, because it will take, once the student loans start again, and I believe in June or August of this year.
I think it's August.
August of this year. Mm-hmm. People can actually, if they pay for 20 years, and they can work out where the interest is not going to move up, so they change the principal balance of it. After 20 years of making constant payment for 20 years, they can actually wipe off the remaining debt. And then also it knocks down the discretionary income down from 10% to 5% that they will be required to pay of their
right.
income.
The monthly
amount
are reduced from 10% to 5%.
So they save. This will help the economy. This will help the student be able to save for other things like buying a home, using it to help their family. All these things, so they can cut the payment down and also not have it grow so large to seem as if they're paying, but the price never goes down, which is very frustrating for anybody to pay every month and never see the bill go down.
And for borrowers who are earning less than $30,500, there's going to be 0 monthly payments. They're single; they would have to be single.
Right.
0 monthly payments for the low income people. Oh, well, not low income, but that's the 30,500, and to stop the interest from accruing, because, like I said, the interest could be like painstaking.
Right.
You're paying, and all you're paying is interest. You're never touching the loan. So,
And if you're 20 years old or you're 30 years old, right, and you play this for 20 years, by the time you turn 50, right, at this point you built your career, you're doing something, or maybe you're doing nothing. But if you paid into it for 20 years, you don't have to ride this into your older age from 50, 60, 70. You'll
really,
be paying
40,
it until
45,
death.
whatever.
You know?
Because once they make their regular payments, no interest will accrue.
Right.
As long as they make the regular payments.
Right.
But then after 20 years of straight payments, and then
So by 40,
40 or so, it should be done. So you don't have to think about it, and you could move on with your life.
and it's not there forever until death. Who would want that? I mean,
You said it so death.
I mean, it's just, who wants to be looking down a barrel for the rest of your life? It's a horrible feeling.
Well,
It gives people hope, you know?
That's how Biden got elected as well,
Right.
because the students wanted this. So I believe they're going to come to some type of agreement.
Right.
I'm not sure what. The initial plan was better than this repay plan, because I think that even the parents who took out student
Parent plus loans, yeah.
loans, they're not included in this.
Right,
repay
that's going
plan.
to have to be another conversation.
Right.
Because
So,
a lot of the parents holding the debt.
but Biden knows that he got elected by the youth because they were counting on this.
Right.
So he didn't consider, I guess, the parents. The parents, you're either with him or you're not. That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, the parents would be happy that their children don't have a debt forever.
Forever.
And then hopefully maybe a different conversation can be had.
Yeah.
So I think we covered a lot of this. I think we've seen a little bit of. I think they're trying to just show the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
There has to be something to address some of it. And if they're successful at the Supreme Court level, and then they put this together, this will really help, I believe.
Yeah, we probably have to come back to this and
Again,
see what
yeah.
the decision is and see where we're at again with this, because it definitely is a conversation, and it is an ongoing conversation. It is not something that can be resolved immediately, because look how many decades it took to get to this point.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think that was a good discussion, and
Yeah, how do you like this format? I mean, we're going to play around with it. Actually, I think we might have a guest next week, but
exciting.
We'll keep it a secret for now, because we're waiting for some confirmations. But we're going to be trying different things, and I like that. How about you?
It's always different and exciting and new. So to me, I think special guests are important, because I do have a couple of people that I'm thinking lined up that I would like to interview or speak with, and they can give us their expertise as well.
Yes.
Because we're not experts in these situations. We're just telling you our opinions.
Right.
They're not anything that you can say, oh, this is what this person said, because no, we're just telling you how our perspective of it. So.
Right, and we want to enlighten, and if there's any questions about how to do things, we can get those guests on here that are subject matter experts on that. It just it shines a brighter light on different subject matters.
Yeah, because some things just aren't spoken about in the normal everyday to day things, and sometimes
Right.
clarity, you may have heard something and you go, wait a minute, but if there's something that we could check in for you, just let us know. Like I said, you can always email us at info@itsfridaybaybay.com. Again, that's info@itsfridaybaybay.com, and we'd love to hear your concerns, your thoughts, and maybe tell us what you'd like to hear, because that way we can make sure we focus on the important topics for you. So with that being said, Mr. Know-It-All, how are you doing? And as well as also, this is MLK weekend. I know we covered that.
That's right. We did that last week. And there's some great things.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on Monday, and it is 2 days from now, and I hope you guys have special events planned.
Or just take a moment to meditate on how you can make it a better world, because Martin Luther King was all about that.
Yes. Amen.
So what do we have? Any new music?
We have new music.
What do we have? What do we have?
We have music, and thank you for the Rubyboo Entertainment
Love that
company.
label.
You
Love
say
it.
that every week.
Just love them. What do they got this week?
This week, we're going to be playing a song. It's an instrumental song. It's entitled "The Light."
The light. Yes, we're gonna definitely shed some light on
Yes.
issues. Amen to that.
Amen. And the light is always good. So we hope you enjoy. And thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. It was great talking with you today.
Always great talking to you, Lady T.
And why?
Why?
Because it's Friday, baby!
not represent the views, thoughts, or opinions of any agency and or platform. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. It's Friday, Baybay. Name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use is not an endorsement or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.